A bold U.S. military operation captures Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife over the weekend. Now he stays under heavy watch awaiting federal court. Welcome to News 2 at 10. I'm Kenley Hargett. And tonight, Venezuela's interim leader says she wants to maintain, quote, respectful relations with the U.S. On her Instagram account, she wrote in part, quote, we invite the U.S. government to collaborate with us on an agenda of cooperation oriented towards shared development within the framework of international law that strengthen lasting community coexistence. Her message comes shortly after Trump threatened she could, quote, pay a very big price if she didn't fall in line with demands. Maduro's son, two high-ranking Venezuelan officials, and an accused leader of a criminal gang are also named in the charges. ABC's Alison Kosik explains the details.
Ousted Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro and his wife Celia Flores set to make their first appearance in a Manhattan federal courtroom at noon on Monday under tight security. The two seen arriving in New York Saturday after being seized in a dangerous U.S. military operation. Maduro and Flores are among 6 defendants named in a new 4-count indictment. Prosecutors allege Maduro was at the forefront of a narco-terrorism conspiracy to transport thousands of tons of cocaine into the U.S. The indictment claims Maduro sold Venezuelan diplomatic passports to individuals he knew were drug traffickers, seeking to move drug proceeds using private planes under diplomatic cover. Prosecutors also point to Flores as a key player in the corruption, alleging she accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes. Maduro has long denied any role in drug trafficking. President Trump speaking to reporters on board Air Force One as he returned to Washington.
Don't ask me who's in charge because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
We're in charge.
But today, Secretary of State Marco Rubio seeming to dial back the U.S. role. Democrats accusing the president of leading America into another dead end, like the war in Iraq.
We have learned through the years when America tries to do regime change and nation building in this way, the American people pay the price in both blood and in dollars.
Republicans have largely backed the president on Venezuela, but not all. Congressman Tom Massey posting, "Wake up, MAGA. Venezuela is not about drugs. It's about oil and regime change. This is not what we voted for." Alison Kosik, ABC News, New York.
Inside Venezuela, a mix of celebration and fear over the country's future. Many express relief Maduro is gone, while others condemn the operation. Cuba says 32 Cuban security officers were killed in the U.S. attack. Venezuela's future and how much the U.S. will be involved are very much in question. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the U.S. is running, quote, the direction of the country. President Trump, who campaigned on keeping America out of foreign conflict, did not rule out sending in U.S. troops.
What's going to happen here is that we have a quarantine on their oil. That means their economy will not be able to move forward until the conditions that are in the national interest of the United States and the interest of the Venezuelan people are met. And that's what we intend to do.
World leaders are reacting in very different ways to Maduro's downfall. China and Iran condemned the operation, while Britain's prime minister says the UK sheds no tears.